Brooks Corner, or 24/7 at deanbank.com.
A mixture of clouds and sun today with a high near 80 degrees and a southwest breeze. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, overnight low of 51. Sunday's weather, Easter Sunday, sunny and 62. Monday, mostly sunny and 63. Tuesday, mostly cloudy, 40% chance of a shower, high of 71 Tuesday. On Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high of 69. Thursday, sunshine and 71. And on Friday, partly sunny skies, high of 68.
And currently outside the Navigating Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, we have 67 degrees. Wow, Pat, 67 degrees.
We'll take it.
Exactly.
I got 4 baseball games to umpire. So.
Yeah, I gotta get up to New England College for a little Division III college baseball for a noontime game. So, State Police, please help me along. So, good morning. Welcome to the Cheap Seats with Pat and Kevin. Today we have a very special guest, former Cumberland High School graduate, former professional hockey player, new author. Mike Murray will be joining us in studio. But as always, another busy week in sports. So let's go around Rhode Island and New England to get you all caught up. The Mount St. Charles Academy Junior Mounties boys hockey team captured the Youth Tier 1 title at the USA National Championships in the 15-year-old division by skating to a thrilling 5-4 triumph over the Chicago Reapers on Saturday, April 6th at Bob Sutter's Legacy 20 Arena in Middleton, Wisconsin. Is it Sutter or Sutter? 2 T's would be a Sutter.
I think it's Sutter.
Yeah, I thought Sutter. Okay,
you're right.
We'll go with that. Okay, Maxim Yakub provided the heroics in the season's finals by netting the game-winning goal at 12:14 to play in overtime. Braden Willis, Colton Summer, Rocco Pelosi, and Stephen Cover all had goals in the victory. The second seed in the 16-team field, the Junior Mounties battled back from a 4-2 loss in the 10th against the 10th-seeded Long Island Gulls in pool play opener and to turn away the 7th-seed Boston Junior Eagles 4-1. 15th seed North Jersey Avalanche 11-3. In the quarterfinals, the Junior Mounties topped the 9th seed Connecticut's Mid Fairfield 5-2, and in the semis they rode a hat trick from Pelosi to put away the third period at against Michigan's Little Caesars 5-3. The team, which contains 2 players from Cumberland, Grady Rowley and Brody Berard, had a great series as well, and goaltender Nathaniel Chiswick turned in an excellent tournament between the pipes with a 2.56 goals against average in 5 games.
Yeah, they got a great program at Mount.
Yeah,
and we can touch base on that a little bit too. But down at URI, baseball team is currently 23-15 overall, 11-5 in the A10, puts them in a tie for first place with George Mason. URI had a thrilling 11-10 victory over Dayton yesterday, knocking Dayton to 1 game out of first, but in 5th place in the tight A10 conference. 6 teams are separated in the standings by 1 game. If you're looking for something fun to do and free, head down to Bill Beck Stadium on the campus of URI for today's 1 o'clock game. Cumberland native Scott Penny, a sophomore, is hitting .282 with a .404 OBP, 4 home runs, 46 RBIs as an everyday infielder.
And by virtue of a 6-game winning streak, the Bryant Bulldogs baseball team now has an overall record of 17-15-1, and in the America East Conference, they're in 3rd place with a 6-4 conference record. They take on UMass Lowell today in a doubleheader starting at noon at Conate Park on the campus of Bryant University. Bryant last week also beat URI as part of their 6-game win streak.
I did see that. After finishing their homestand with an 8-5 win over Columbus, the Worcester Red Sox took the road to take on Rochester this week. It's been a good week for the AAA Red Sox. They've won all 4 games in Rochester, including last night's 20-7 romp. The Woo Sox finished their series with matinees today and tomorrow at 1:05. They return home for the week, a week of games versus Syracuse. They remain home until Sunday, May 4th, so head on over to Polo Park. Get your tickets now.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's my brother Joe had told me. No, we were talking last week, the week before, about the Woo Sox schedule. They schedule a week worth of games, 6 games in a row at home, and then they go on the road for 6. Unlike the old days where they come in for a 3-game stand. Apparently, this is the 3rd year that they're doing such a type of schedule where every Monday is off. That's the travel day for the league. Yeah. They must save on lots of expenses that way. The Woo Sox watch continues for Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony. Roman Anthony has turned things around for himself this past week. Currently, he's hitting .293 with a .431 on base. He has 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. The 4 home runs lead the team. Marcelo Meyer, on the other hand, still kind of scuffling along. A 203 average, a 239 on base. One positive, somehow, some way he leads the team in RBIs with 17.
We had 7 yesterday.
Did he have 7 yes?
Yeah,
Oh, that'll do
He
it.
had a great. He was 2 for 7 with a grand slam and 7 RBIs.
Well, that'll do it. Brian Bayo made a rehab start in Portland, going 4 1/3 innings, giving up 6 hits, 4 runs, all earned. Did strike out 7, only walked 1. He's got a halfway decent whip in his 2 games in Worcester and 1 in Portland at like 1.5. But his ERA is up in the 8s. And he's scheduled to make a start for the Boston Red Sox. I think he needs a rehab. He hasn't gone more than 64 pitches yet, so he struggled in all 3 minor league rehab assignments. So when Craig Breslow gives me a call, I'll give him my opinion on what they should do with Brian Bayo.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Rhode Island Football Club returns to action today after beating the Portland Hearts of Pine 2-1 on Tuesday in the U.S. Cup. They are in Detroit today at 4. Which you can see on Nesson Plus and ESPN Plus. 2 weeks from today is the eagerly awaited event at Centreville Bank Stadium and the christening of the new stadium. They also will play the New England Revolution in the next round of the U.S. Cup, which is at Centreville Stadium. I believe it's May 6th or 7th.
They're playing a Revolution.
They are playing
Mike,
the
I don't know
Revolution.
how much you follow soccer at all, but in next year, with Rhode Island Football Club, they're entering this, and you can explain it better, so correct me when I'm wrong. The USL League, the president of RISC didn't come right out and say they're competing with MLS. So we'll say it. They're competing with MLS. They're going to be a Tier 1 league that goes up against MLS's Tier 1 league. And the fact that RIFC is playing the Revolution in this, can you explain this tournament just a little bit?
The U.S. Cup is basically, it's been around forever, but it's basically any professional team plays and they add in levels of professional teams as you get along. So they're in the round of 32 now, and they'll start adding in the MLS, which is essentially the top league in the U.S. But the USL is adding a Premier League in 2026, 2027.
Yes, next
and
season.
they're going to start with relegation. So,
That's cool,
like
Get
in
booted.
Europe, so
Similar to England.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I follow that pretty closely.
As do I. So it's just basically holds everyone accountable, right? If you're not good, you go down. If you're good, you move up, and you can keep moving down. You keep moving up harder. So it should be interesting.
So they're going to sell out anyway because of the new stadium, Centreville Bank Stadium, recently named. I guess officially was this past week. All the papers were signed and everything. They're not going to have any problem selling out, especially in the early goings. But now playing a Revolution, I mean,
they're doing it the smart way too. They're actually the Rhode Island FC is bulking those. If you want tickets to that game, you have to buy a package, like a 2-game package of other games. Whereas the Revs, like I'm a Rev season ticket holder, so I got a code that I could just go on and get tickets, but it's just they have a small section in the stadium. So
if you go to the RISC game, are you at war with yourself if you get tickets to the Revolution? I mean, it's gonna be tough for you, Pat.
It is. Anyway, on to the P Bruins.
Now the Providence Bruins, they wrap up their regular season tonight with a game at the AMP versus the Bridgeport Islanders. The PBs with a win, or if the game just happens to go to overtime, will clinch 3rd place in their division. And looking around, it was really tough to find out when the AHL playoffs start. I found an article from December that says they should be starting midweek in April after the season wraps up. So wish some of these minor league websites would just do just a little bit better job of updating their things. But so that's what's happening around Rhode Island and New England. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have Mike Murray in studio. You've already heard him. You're going to see him. When we come back, author of the new book, Chasing the Goal, will be joining us. So thank you for joining us in the cheap seats on 1240 AM, 99.5 FM, OneSocketRadio.com. We'll be back right after these messages.
First news, best music. This is ON Radio.
The latest Buick and GMC models are available at Tasca Buick GMC in Woonsocket. Buick Encore, Envision, Enclave, and Envista are on the lot waiting for you to take one for a test drive. New GMC crossovers, SUVs, as well as trucks and vans are also available. Thinking of a pre-owned vehicle? Tasca Buick GMC has more than 900 in stock, many under $15,000. Visit online, TascaBuickGMC.com, or stop into 55 Fortin Drive, Woonsocket. Tasca Buick GMC, you will be satisfied. And remember, there are no tariffs on the vehicles in stock at Tasca Buick GMC.
At North Smithfield Urgent Care and Lincoln Urgent Care, you'll always be seen by a board-certified physician who'll diagnose your minor illness or injury. Their services include treatment for flu, fractures, rashes, ITU infections, and work-related injuries, plus physicals, vaccinations, and drug screening. North Smithfield Urgent Care, Great Road, North Smithfield, and Lincoln Urgent Care, Wake Robin Road, Lincoln. X-ray and lab on premises.
Automobile construction and design continues to change, so it's important that auto body shops remain current and certified in aluminum repair and able to reproduce the entire color spectrum. Michaud's Auto Body is a certified Class A auto shop staying current with the new technology. The use of aluminum in construction has made vehicles lighter, and many of the new metallic paints require the tri-coat process, 3 layers to get the perfect match. Michaud's Auto Body, a second-generation family business. 430 Privilege Street, Woonsocket, 769-1983.
The world-class distributor of all things electrical is Electrical Wholesalers. They are a full-service electrical distributor with branches throughout Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. Locally, they're at 113 Clinton Street next to KFC here in Woonsocket, with other locations in Cranston and Franklin, Massachusetts. Electrical Wholesalers provides the highest quality service to electrical contractors as well as residential, commercial, and industrial customers. Electrical Wholesalers is open Monday through Friday, 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. Visit ew-ne.com. Electrical Wholesalers. ON, AM, and FM.
And welcome back to the Cheap Seats with Pat and Kevin. We welcome now Mike Murray. Thank you, Mike, for joining us in the Cheap Seats. You have recently released your book. I'm going to try and hold it up, called Chasing the Goal. In your words, Mike, about an average athlete making it to professional sports, obviously in your case, hockey. A little background on Mike before we put the cameras on him. Came out of Cumberland High School, class of 89, now in the Cumberland Athletics Hall of Fame. You were a football player, baseball player, as well as hockey. Went to Cushing Academy for hockey, then enrolled at UMass Lowell, where you had a 4-year Hockey East career, earning Hockey East All-Star, Hockey East All-East Tournament team in 1993. Followed that with 3 years in the AHL with the St. John's Flames, and I think an injury, but we can talk more about that. 3 more years in the East Coast Hockey League with the Louisiana Ice Gators. And I was just thinking what a culture shock it must have been going from St. John's, Canada to Louisiana for hockey. So we welcome in Mike Murray. Mike, thank you for joining Pat and I in the Cheap Seats.
Thanks for having me.
It's great. So, all right, your book, Chasing the Goal. We'll start off. Why a book and why now?
Good question. I always thought that I had an interesting story, and I started writing it probably 16 years ago, right before my daughter was born, and more of a journal to leave behind for her.
Okay.
To explain to her what I did and the kind of going after my dreams, and wanted to make sure she knew my message in case I wasn't there to tell her. Kind of walked away from it, and I started coaching, and actually got back into hockey. I've been out for a while. My daughter started playing, so I was kind of teaching my book through coaching. That's kind of the way I looked at it. That's really how I coach. I share stories. I got sick about 2 years ago with vertigo. Really bad vertigo. Where they told me I was having a major stroke. They put me in the ICU. They gave me this really tough, clot busting medication. And about 24 hours later, they discovered I did not have a stroke. So, right. But it was a lot of thinking going on.
Yeah.
Of for me, cutting a lot of deals with the big guy upstairs.
Yeah.
Get me out of this one.
Yeah.
Really to follow through on what I did as a kid is that I set some goals for myself, and I attacked them and motivated myself, and I decided at that point that maybe I'll turn this into a book, and if I'm not able to coach anymore, I want to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And pass on the lessons that I learned, and hopefully make some kids' life a little bit easier than the kind of trail that I went through.
Interesting on the vertigo. About 9 years ago, I was actually visiting my mom in the hospital. I stepped outside to take a work call, and my whole world just flipped upside down. And I was hospitalized. They did not think stroke or anything like that. They thought I was having a heart attack. But then all the tests came back and everything was good. But it was I still have like some dizziness,
Same here.
daily. At some point, you just learn to live with it. So
Yeah.
interesting about the vertigo. Yeah, it's never really. The only other person I ever heard with vertigo. Do you remember the Boston Red Sox player?
Yes.
One year, Nick Gosaski.
Yes.
had
Yeah.
vertigo in 1989. I think he was with the Sox and pretty much ended his career.
Yeah, I
Came
remember
over from
that,
the
yeah.
Braves, played, had a good year with the Sox. So, but we didn't bring you in here to talk vertigo.
Yeah.
so
Well, that's gonna be a whole different segment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it rocked my world. It certainly did.
yeah,
That's the next book.
yeah, that's But for me, it affected the way I was coaching. I couldn't see. I mean, I couldn't do certain things. It was weird. But yeah. So all right. So the book just released April 15th.
April 15th, yeah, Tuesday.
And now you're a new author, new public. Does the book get reviews? Does people review it?
They just started coming in, so I'm finding this out on the fly. So Amazon, it takes like 3 days or so for it to start coming in.
Okay.
So I actually looked this morning. So I have, I think, 8 reviews on it so far, which are all positive.
All right.
Which is great.
I'll be putting mine in.
Yeah. This-
Pat actually read the other day. I'm not there yet, but
some people have been asking me, when's the audiobook coming out?
Right.
So I'll give you a call and I'll
There's an app for that.
Yeah.
I think you just throw it.
Yeah, I'll just read it to you. But yeah, so it came out on the 15th, and it's done really well. Kind of blew away my expectations of it.
Yeah.
And the publishing company I'm working with, because they had set a goal of what you wanted to do on your first day, and I basically doubled it. So
Wow.
It's a good thing. So it's just funny that the web and network of friends and family that you have, and
Right.
it kind of word kind of just spread, and
Yeah.
people started buying it, and I couldn't be more thankful for it.
and we can promote it here right now. What is the best way to buy your book?
Amazon. Amazon.
Amazon.com.
Yeah, it was actually available. I didn't realize the hard copy was available before the actual launch, which is a strange thing. Yeah, because they want to make sure quality assurance purposes that the book comes out right. But as soon as you tell people you're writing a book, what do? They Google it.
Yeah,
And
right,
they find
exactly.
and they're finding on Amazon before I did. You know, so people had the book before I even got the first copy of it. So yeah, no, it's been really kind of a whirlwind, but so far so good.
That's great. Yeah. So we're joined here by Mike Murray, author of Chasing the Goal. Mike, a Cumberland resident, living in Mass now, if I am not
Yep,
mistaken,
North Attleboro.
in North Attleboro. So my rival. I'm living in Attleboro for the last 20 years. So hey.
I lived there too at one point.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Attleboro for 10
Attleboro
years.
finally beat North in hockey this year. Pat and I called the game 1-0.
Oh, yeah.
First time in 13 years.
Jake Westwater
Well,
with the
my-
shutout goal. I know you know the
played
West.
for me, Jake.
Yeah.
Great kid. Great,
Yeah.
great player.
So Pat, you got a question? I think?
Well, yeah, I mean, just to talk, I mean, the story is tremendous, right? You're a kid who could have gone anywhere, right? You could have gone and played at Mount, right? But you chose to go the public school route, and just and I think it starts in high school, right? You have an unbelievable injury your sophomore year.
Sophomore year, yeah.
You're able to come back from that.
Just in time to replace me at first base in the game against Hendrick in the playoffs, but that's
But
okay.
that's another book.
Another one.
It's a whole other story.
That's a sentence.
That's Kevin's journey. But just a couple things that stood out for me was certainly the story about your neighbor, Mr. Krebs.
Yes.
And just how that changed essentially it changed your thought process about things, right?
100%.
Yeah, and then obviously I don't want to give away the whole book, but it turns into you have all the talent in the world, but it's how you deal with things, right? In the moment, as you say multiple times throughout the book, and at every level of your career. And then I'm just dumbfounded that I didn't know about you, right? Because I'm younger than you guys, not much,
Not that
younger,
much.
but,
I mean, come on.
but enough where
Kevin's older than me.
yeah,
Hey,
right.
hey,
This
hey,
is
hey,
true.
Not that much.
But just the tremendous, and then just to get into the professional stuff, like everything that happened at St. John's,
Yeah.
really just and maybe it doesn't happen now, but it's certainly you're one of probably thousands of guys that happened to, right? Where you just misdiagnosis, bad surgery, that can truly just wipe away your dreams, right? And it did to an extent. You were able to kind of push through that, which is tremendous. But it speaks to your character, obviously. What was the other? I don't want to mention. I think I know who the coach was at St. John's that you don't mention in the book, but we could talk about that afterwards.
Yeah.
But just talk about that phase of your career and how you kind of persevered. I think this book is more about that. It's more about perseverance and pushing through. And then now you've turned it into, this is your coaching style, right? And what set you up for success over the course of your career? If kids, even at the public school level, like I always say to Kevin and any of our buddies, like if you're good enough, you don't have to go to those places. Like you're going to be seen, you're going to be found. Somebody's going to see you and say, hey, obviously the dynamics changed a lot now with the junior programs and all that stuff. But talk a little bit about your step from college to pro and then dealing with that injury and how that affected you overall.
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately dealt with a lot of injuries throughout my career, and as I wrote the book, I realized, wow, this is a lot of injuries.
That's a lot of
but
yeah.
And probably my toughest step was going from high school to prep school. That level of jump was even tougher than going prep to college and college to pro. But as I obviously learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I was, really behind. And I use the word, finding genius in the average athlete because of a story or a motivational tape that I listened to about finding genius in the average man. It was a former Olympian. And I really bought into it, that most people get 1% of their capacity out of them, out of their talent. Imagine if you get 3 or 4 or 5%. So I bought into that, and that was kind of my mantra my entire career. And that tape went with me everywhere, and that thought process. And when I, ran into, injuries, it was right at the pinnacle peak of my career, just finding out I'm getting called up, and then life happens,
I'm sorry. You found out you were getting called up to Calgary?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you were called up.
You got to read the book, Kevin.
Yeah.
It's in the book.
Yeah, I don't want
just
to ruin
came
the
up.
story.
Right.
I kind of set it up.
Yeah.
Because I want to be like, have the reader or the kid understand, this is like the pinnacle of my life.
Yeah.
And then flash back and explain how I got there. It's really not about what I accomplished, but more how I accomplished it that I want to pass on. Right. And this is the steps that I went through and the moment-to-moment focus that I learned along the way through, losing Mr. Krebs and these games that I played in. I kind of learned the mental side of the sport because I really had no choice. Because I was so far behind my peers at that time that went to Mount St. Charles. I'd missed a year of hockey my sophomore year.
Or only played hockey.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were a three-sport, right? So
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
always
football,
behind the
baseball,
eight ball,
hockey.
getting on the ice after Thanksgiving, where other kids were playing.
All those type of kids, and back then, like Mount St. Charles, obviously it was a powerhouse, phenomenal players, great coaching. They, it was apples and oranges comparing like a Mount St. Charles to a public school because they're playing, they had 2 hours of ice every day. We had 50 minutes. They're playing. These kids are probably playing their elite teams, throughout the fall, and I never did that. Like I was playing football, and particularly my junior, senior, and then year of prep. I went for football season the day after Thanksgiving. Put away my cleats, put on my skates, and then I played. So I was far behind. So I had a lot of catching up to do. So that's where like buying into the mental part of it way back then, I think set me apart from a lot of players, and I kind of carried that right through the pros and through injuries that you really, life happens and stuff's,
Yeah, it's how you deal with it, right?
Exactly. What are they? It's like E plus R equals O. It's the event plus your response is what the outcome is.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of looked at it, and I to this day I got like a mental performance certificate from a guy that I learned from a couple of years ago, so that I could teach my hockey team in a constructive way, how you deal with things. It's really the mindset, how you approach things, and really ultimately was to be able to get the most out of my ability. And I think perspective as an adult, you look back on it and like, that's what really it's all about. Is like, did you do everything possible to maximize your abilities? And I look back and say, yeah, do I live with disappointment? Absolutely. Right. But I don't live with regret because I understood time flies. And I understood that, I didn't want to look back one day and say, did I do enough?
Right, what if?
And that's why I went back after injuries and continued to play and played out the rest of my career because I don't want to look back one day and be like, oh, I should have, could have, would have. So.
Sure.
And the level you got to, Mike, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, okay, you just missed the NHL, but the AHL is the top league. Is the AHL above the European leagues, you think? Or is it on par?
I think it's a different style
Different
of game.
brand.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah,
the talent's probably equal. It's
Yeah.
just a different style. You know, they're more of a skilled control game.
Yeah.
The AHL when I was playing was very physical.
Right.
You know, it was
A lot of fights, yeah.
That's another great story. I actually paused and because I was laughing, and my wife says, "Oh, the book must be good." I said, so I told her the story about your first fight, which was great.
Yeah.
I mentioned it to Kevin earlier, but that was the league back then.
It was,
especially if you were an American player.
Oh, yeah. They
You know,
were,
even to go up and play juniors in Canada. I have buddies, you know, from Dorchester who went up and played, and it was like they hated Americans, and we knew we were gonna have to fight when we got up there. And
it was strange because we played a different brand of hockey in the U.S. They didn't let you fight.
Right.
So it wasn't like you weren't tough, but all of a sudden you're going against kids that have been fighting since they were 13 years old on the ice.
Right.
It's a completely different fight from a street fight to a fight on the ice. It's more grappling and
on skates, which
balance.
is the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. So it's always a lot of risk there, and it's just an odd thing. You go from college where I get in a fight, I was kicked out of 2 games, and in a 30-game season, that's a lot of games to miss.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, you kind of jumped into the fire, and my first fight, it was funny because it was a build up to it. I'm like thinking, I gotta get in a fight here. I gotta get in a fight.
Yeah.
And then when I did, and I think you're reading the story, it was people get a chuckle out of the story.
yeah, that's exactly. I chuckled, and my wife's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, telling her the whole glove thing, and I'm like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Mike, can you stay with us through the next break?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So we're going to go to commercial, but we're being joined by Michael Murray, author of Chasing the Goal. I'll hold it up again. A book that just, I guess, officially came out April 15th, maybe a little bit earlier, but as far as you know, April 15th, right? Book that's getting good reviews, one in-person review. And so we'll be joined by Mike Murray after this commercial break. So thank you for joining us in the cheap seats, and we'll be back right after this on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, OneSocketRadio.com.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ON is always on.
State Line Service and Tire Center services all vehicles, including late model cars and light trucks. Your late model vehicle is a highly sophisticated piece of equipment featuring a network of sensors and switches that monitor engine performance and efficiency. When a problem arises, it's important for your technician to know if your check engine light warning is a real problem or just a sensor computer issue. So be safe and be sure. Don, Kevin, and Sean believe in communicating and explaining. State Line Service and Tire Center, 1209 Social Street, Woonsocket, at the State Line.
When you install a garage door, don't forget the safety factor. Woonsocket Door Sales suggests you visit their website at woonsocketdoorsales.com and read about all the new technology available to make your garage and your home safe. In addition to your vehicles, your garage may store valuable tools and equipment. It may also have access to your home. Their website also features a variety of designs and comments about satisfied customers. Woonsocket Door Sales in Cumberland, 767-3448. They install, repair, and service all types of garage doors for commercial and residential.
When disaster strikes, trust the experts at ServiceMaster by Gilmore. From water and fire restoration to mold remediation and emergency cleanup, we've been restoring peace of mind for over 40 years. Now proudly serving all areas, including our newest service location in Rhode Island. No job is too big or too small. Day or night, we're here for you. Call ServiceMaster by Gilmore at 1-800-783-0552 or visit us at the web at www.svmgilmore.com. Restoration done right every time.
Don't look now, but spring is right around the corner. Get out those golf clubs and head over to Lewis Quistit Golf Club, located right in the city of North Providence. Lewis Quistit offers a stunning 9-hole course designed by U.S. Open champion Ken Venturi. Whether you're looking for a fun, challenging round of golf or just a relaxing day surrounded by rolling hills, oak trees, natural wetlands, this is the perfect spot. With tee times available 7 days a week, fantastic court conditions, and a welcoming atmosphere both for members and the public, Lewis Quistit is a place to be. And after you're around, don't miss out on great food and drinks at the Pub on One, complete with a scenic golf course view. Contact Lewis Quistit Golf Club at www.lewisquisitgc.com or by calling 401-353-1620.
And welcome back. Thank you for joining us in the cheap seats with Pat and Kevin. I'm Kevin Callahan along with Pat Holland, and we have in studio with us author. You ever think you'd be called author?
Absolutely
Author. Mike Murray. And Mike, you told us right before you came on, it's an easy read. What did your publisher say? Something like about a 3-hour book or?
The goal was to, number one, the audience, the target audience that I really want to impact is, kids who are 17-year-old Mike Murray trying to find their way in the world, which I was, and had all these hopes and dreams. I want that person or their parents, whoever, to read the book, and they said, you want to create an airplane book. One that you can get on an airplane, 3-hour flight, and get through it, and you have some sense of accomplishment, and you learn something.
Just pull the mic just a little bit closer. Yep. All right, perfect, thanks.
That you have some sense of accomplishment finishing the book, and that you're getting something out of it. And that's kind of the two things that I wanted to do and achieve.
Yeah, and I just received the book, and thank you. Pat ordered the book this week, and what'd you say, Pat? In 1 night, 2 nights, you're almost done with the book.
Yeah, and, I have. I think I have one more chapter, maybe.
The most important chapter of the book.
Yeah. The last, as Mike just said, if you're going to pick up the book if you're a 17-year-old, all you really need to do is read the last chapter, and that's what I'm trying to get across. But it's the stories that lead up to it, which I have found interesting, which I'm sure I'll find the last chapter interesting too. But
yeah, absolutely.
But,
all right, so Mike, you had like a gap year between the AHL and the East Coast League. An injury, and what happened there, and then how did you come back to the East Coast League after that?
Yeah, so I had the injury halfway through my second year in St. John, and I was out about 14 months.
Wow.
Came back, I played the last 2 months of the season in playoffs, and then my contract was up. So Calgary initially said they wanted to re-sign me, and they flew me out to see their doctors, and I don't think the news was very good on my knee. So they declined to offer me another contract. So I went to Hershey on a contract there in the AHL, and I think they had just won the Calder Cup that year. And it was a great opportunity. I loved playing in Hershey when I was, my St. John days. When I went there, I failed my physical.
Oh, okay.
So I had the choice, and the doctor said, if you want to play with your kids one day, I think you should give up hockey.
Wow.
So it was kind of sobering.
That's very sobering.
Yeah. And then, so that's where that gap year is. So I went home, decided, okay, I'm going to move on with my life. I wasn't really ready. I don't want to walk away from my dreams, but the knee, I've been rehabbing it for, 20 months almost, and it still was not there. So during that year at home, I started coaching with one of my friends in college, and then I had the thought in the back of my head, I'm not ready to give it up. And that's where it led me to the IHL in Cincinnati, and then a contract in Louisiana with a former college buddy. And when they told me Louisiana, I said, what?
Right.
They're like, trust me, come down here. You're not going to believe it. And when I got down there, I was so blown away.
Really?
We had double the amount of fans that we got in St. John, Canada, which we sold out every time. So we were getting like 12,000 fans a game. It's French Acadiana, and they loved hockey. They loved fighting also.
Yeah.
It was really an unbelievable experience, and the best thing I ever did was go down there.
Well, I would have thought, I just, snob of the South, I guess, thinking that they just wouldn't buy into the whole hockey East Coast thing, and just I forget, French Quarter down there, the Canadian. I just assumed St. John's would be the place.
Yeah.
Out in Eastern Canada, and Louisiana just would be.
I went from the worst division in pro sports in the sense of where it was because of the weather, being up in the Maritimes.
Yeah.
To like the best division in sports, what we consider where I'm in flip flops all year round, and the hockey was great. The people were phenomenal. We were like featured in Time magazine as like the most successful minor league team of all time at that moment. I mean, it was really just lightning in a bottle. They don't even have a team anymore. They have like a junior team. Yeah. And just the way of the world, but I had such an unbelievable experience here, and I was able to keep living out my dreams. I knew the NHL was long gone for me, but
we had a guest in the studio. It's similar, not necessarily to injuries, but was in the Red Sox organization for 3 years. Got released by the Sox, signed independent ball in the hopes that he'd get back into any organization. Made the All-Star team, was handed a crisp $50 bill for making the All-Star team. He was like, great. Yeah. He's now in the Savannah Bananas organization.
Oh,
He's
nice.
pitching for the Party Animals, the main opponent of it. So it's if you find different ways when one dream dies or expired, you found another dream on there as well. So
I think
go ahead, Pat.
you mentioned in the book that at that time in your career, it became fun again for you.
Oh, 100%.
Right, because you weren't like having to worry about that consistency, like having to be on at all times.
Yeah.
Like where you could, not necessarily take a day off, but if you needed it off, you were like, well, I can kind of like coast a little bit, right? And still, the game's fun, and you put up some good points.
Yeah, I had some
in
good
that
years
league,
there.
so.
It was no, you're absolutely right. I mean, the AHL is a grind, and the type of game I played was a grinder. Physical, offensive, power type of forward, but which is fine when you're healthy. But when you have a bad knee, that's just never going to get any better. It was managing those. I kept getting called up throughout the years in the East Coast League to the IHL and the AHL, and I kept turning it down just simply because I already done it. I wanted to have fun and play at a high level and really compete, which I did. And it was great teams, great people. Probably the best decision I made in my career was going down there.
Yeah, and you were able to just kind of like finalize it, and then now I'm ready for the next step.
Correct.
Right, in my life.
How did it end? Did you just retire with the contract over? You said, okay, I'm however old you were at the time, and said,
yeah. I mean, at the time, and I talk about it in the book, is that I just got married.
Okay.
And to my college girlfriend, and we were going to go to Europe, and then it was probably early September. Then 9/11 hit.
Oh. And
9/11 hit. I was like, I don't want to be in Europe,
right,
with my new wife, and I don't want to be away from my family. I've been, I was 30 years old at that point. I knew I was going to have to move on eventually.
Right.
So I had a couple deals to go over to Germany and England to play, and could have played in the the minors in the U.S. But at that moment, I'm like, you know what? It's time to move on.
Yeah.
And
you had your degree from UMass Lowell already, so something to fall back on that way.
Had to dust that off, and
exactly.
and then figure out what I want to do with my life,
Right.
and that was until the day you figure out I'm done, then that's when reality hits.
Right.
Because I've been preparing for a long time and still didn't know, and all of a sudden, now you're done. Now you're going to move on with life, and again, I think it's just a life story. There's ups and downs, it's good and bad. And it's all how you react to it. So
a lot of people that go over there. I mean, I know a few. I don't know if you know. Do you know Timmy Regan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Timmy played at RPI. He ended up over in Germany, I think, for years. I don't think they ever came back. I think he's still over there.
Yeah. No, I have a lot of friends.
He played a lot of years over there, and then got into coaching, and I think he might be a GM over there now. And so.
No, I mean, I had tons of friends that went over there and played and had a blast, and. Some I look back at, in some ways I wish I did, but at that moment,
yeah, absolutely.
We're not going over to Europe.
Right,
sure.
We're not, the timing was not conducive for you at all. So, hockey related question, poking you now. If it's too much into the book and you don't want to spoil it, fine.
No,
what's in the book? Pat, you can tell me if it's too much in the book as well. You've been, through the wars, played a lot of different, with a lot of different players, a lot of different coaches at high level, including the Boston Bruins. We're big Bruins fans. I'm sure you're still a Bruins fan. They fire Bruce Cassidy 1 week later. The Vegas Knights pick him up, and he wins a cup. Bruins then get rid of Jim Montgomery, who I think he played against in college when he was
actually
at Maine.
in the book.
He's in the book.
No kidding.
Yeah, there's a picture of him in the book with me.
Oh, no kidding. That's pretty wild.
A face-off.
So not only someone you played against, but there's a picture of him in the book.
Yeah.
5 days later, the Blues pick up Jim Montgomery. He turns them into a playoff team. They go on they win 12 consecutive wins. So in a professional locker room, it may sound like a stupid question, but how important is the head coach? And how does Jim Montgomery, kind of like a two-part, lose a Bruins locker room, but then gain a Blues locker room that was underperforming? And I just read this stat today. What Montgomery did with the Blues from the time he started to the end of the season, he got one more point than the Bruins did all season this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he ended up with 77 points with the Blues as their official coach. Bruins had 76. So how important is it? How do they lose a room and how do they gain a room? You must have played for so many different coaches.
Oh yeah.
Even going back to Cushing, but through UMass Lowell and then the pros.
Yeah, I mean, in my position as a player, mind you, I'm trying to make it to the NHL.
Right.
I had some tough coaches, but I wouldn't say necessarily losing the room because you really had no choice. That was the coach. You're in the minors. You're trying to make it.
Yeah.
I could see them, and that that example with the Bruins, I just don't think they had the talent this year. I don't think they had a lot of injuries. I don't think they really had. I think Montgomery was a great coach. I really liked him.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised when he moved over. You know, maybe the message for him is fresher than it was. Now it's maybe wearing thin a little bit. I'm going to say wearing thin. It's just kind of in one ear, out the other.
Yeah.
Now you hear a different perspective. He's over in St. Louis. And he talks a lot about the mental game also. I think he referenced, I read an article about his junior year at UMaine.
Yep.
Where they were in the national, I think, Final Four. And he had a terrible game, and they got booed. And he talked about worrying about all the wrong things, and he got caught up in the moment, and he played terribly. And then the next year, which was my junior year, they won the national championship, where I think he had 3 goals in the third period or something like that game. He had a tremendous game, and it really kind of, it's what I went through as a player. And so he coaches that way. Stay in the moment. If that first year with the Bruins, I think you read a lot about him. Let's not worry about yesterday. Tomorrow, it's about the moment, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. Maybe that message wore thin a little bit, but I think it was a combination of that and the talent was.
Right.
You're losing 2 of the best centers in the NHL.
Yeah.
You're trying to fill that, and they did a pretty good job last year.
Right.
So this year, just something was off, and I think it's more
right from the
management.
beginning. We were talking about right from the beginning. Was the game 1 against the Panthers? I think they lost like 8-1. Or something like that. 7-1. I can't remember now. It was so long ago. You had the Swayman holdout. Do things like that affect the team? Like, how does it affect? I guess I'm asking is get us in the locker room. Like, how does someone like Swayman, a holdout, affect a locker room a month or 2 later when he's back playing? Is it like, do you not play as hard in front of somebody you don't like? And the example I used is a long time ago. John Hanna, offensive lineman for the Patriots, said he'd run through a wall for Steve Grogan. And they said, what about Tony Eason? He's like, I'd run through a wall for Steve Grogan. He just did, and he wouldn't run through the same wall for Eason. Is it similar? Because
it can be. It can be a little bit. I'm not really sure the dynamics. Quick funny story. We have the same agent.
No kidding.
Swayman and myself. We had the same, Louis Gross was our agent. So,
because he played at Maine, he played at Maine too, from Alaska, right?
From Alaska. Yeah. Yep. So I thought that he had his playoff run was incredible last year.
It was great.
So I'm not sure how he loses the locker room that quickly after that playoff run.
Right.
Maybe because people are upset about him not leaving anything on the table.
Right.
Where other players did, like a Marchand, I think, where they took less money to keep the team together, and he was like, I'm maximizing it. And then he got off. Once you get, I've been in that position where things snowball, and whatever could go wrong goes wrong. You know what I mean? It happened to my senior year of college. I had an injury that was misdiagnosed, and all of a sudden I'm like, what is going on here? You get caught up in that moment. I hope he rebounds from that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think he's a great goalie, but I think he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way just with statements he made. And, you can lose a room, but then again, they're professionals. They're in the NHL.
That's the other part. Right.
They got their own careers to worry about. Then,
Right.
Oh,
I agree with that. I mean, and he's come off. I mean, there's a lot of people that have come out with a lot of different statements this week, and his statement this week was still like kind of just like, just go home for a while.
Right.
Like just enough.
Just it can't be all. It's not all roses and petals right now.
Exactly.
Like you guys didn't make the playoffs, and rightfully so. I mean. I don't buy into the whole people give it, Chicago, all these teams that went on these big runs. It's like, we had our run.
Yeah, you're right.
We won in 11.
And I agree with that.
And we made 2 other Stanley Cups that we lost in. And, by the way, Chicago had their run, and now look at them.
Yeah,
they were terrible because they didn't continue to grow. And then they lost some of their top players, right? You get these players that you got to max out their deals, and then they start getting older, and it's like, well, what do you have coming up behind them? Oh, oops, not much.
Which is
and that's where
pretty
we're
obvious,
right?
Yeah.
And they Bruins went all in 2 or 3 years ago, right? Where they traded away draft capital, and then they got bounced. They got bounced in the first round.
What I say in my book too is that because one of my coaches had said this is like. Winning's not easy. It was easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
So there's one winner at the end, and I still think that first round when they got knocked out 2 years ago, Florida's a really good team.
Yeah.
They're really not an 8 seed, and now
so physical and so skilled. I mean, what a
Yeah.
combination that they had to knock out the Bruins that year.
And then I want to say the cup that they lost to St. Louis, was that 18 or 19, something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
19.
19.
And if you remember, they had some really tough injuries down the stretch, and I've been in it, right in the book that
Right.
like we had one injury to a goalie, and who was you're riding the goalie, he was playing fantastic, and he gets knocked out of the championship series, and all of a sudden we kind of spiral. And I believe that happened. A couple of players got like just some cheap shots that they got knocked out of the series. Defenseman, I can't remember who it was. But
I think that was Bergeron was supposedly hurt that whole series.
At the end of every season, you always heard about Bergeron.
Martian ended up having like both hips, both
one
hip
of the
surgeries.
defensemen got
after.
run. It was kind of a cheap hit. and he got hurt.
Was it?
Was it
Was it
Krug?
Torrey Krug? Was it Krug or was it
Krug or
Carlo?
the
Carlo, I think, got hurt that
might
series,
have been.
but
Yeah.
But those things, they matter.
Yeah, of
They
course. Oh,
matter.
yeah.
It's a war of attrition, and you get to that level, it's like whoever's the last man standing.
Right.
Because even 2 years ago, when the Florida lost in the Stanley Cup Finals, I think it was Kachuk was hurt.
Yeah.
You know, he was hurt for that final series. So I mean, you can't replace toughness like that.
No.
Yeah.
Mike, can you hang with us through one more break?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mike Murray, author of the book Chasing the Goal, is joining us in studio, talking a little bit about the book, a little bit about hockey, and might be able to sandbag him with one funny question when we come back after the break. Something I didn't prep him for, but I think he'll laugh. We'll see. We'll find out. We hope he will. So, all right. So you're listening to the Chief Seats with Pat and Kevin here on 1240 AM, 99.5 FM, OneSoccerRadio.com. We'll be back right after this.
Join the Coffee and Panel weekday mornings at 8 on ON Radio.
The latest Buick and GMC models are available at Tasca Buick GMC in Woonsocket. Buick Encore, Envision, Enclave, and Invista are on the lot waiting for you to take one for a test drive. New GMC crossovers, SUVs, as well as trucks and vans are also available. Thinking of a pre-owned vehicle? Tasca Buick GMC has more than 900 in stock, many under $15,000. Visit online, TascaBuickGMC.com, or stop into 55 Fortin Drive, Woonsocket. Tasca Buick GMC, you will be satisfied. And remember, there are no tariffs on the vehicles in stock at Tasca Buick GMC. Are you looking to beautify your property this spring? Look to A.J. Moran for stonework patios, steps, walkways, plus retaining walls. Are you looking to beautify your home this spring? A.J. Moran can put veneer stone right on your house to have beautiful looking stone. And if that's not what you want, A.J. Moran can rebuild indoor fireplaces with veneer stone. It's real natural stone. Check out what they can do online, ajmoraninc.com. A.J. Moran.
If you're celebrating a major event, regardless of the reason, Michael's Meats of Cumberland can elevate your next meal from ordinary to extraordinary with meats so good your guests will ask you where you got them. Tell them Michael's Meats. Michael's Meats is in the Walgreens parking lot on Mendon Road in Cumberland, just north of the Ciabro Plaza. They're open Monday through Saturday at 9 a.m., making your next meal truly special. Here's this week's specials at Michael's Meats.
And this week's special at Michael's Meats, he's got pork tenderloin for just $3.99 a pound at Michael's Meats. Still taking happy Easter orders, well, happy or just regular Easter orders, I guess. One more day, go do your shopping at Michael's Meats. We are joined in studio here in the Cheap Suites with Mike Murray, and Mike, I got a text. I think you know the person. He asked me to ask you a question. And let me just pull it up really quick. He said, whoa, hold on.
Technology.
Naturally, I just lost it the second it came up. He said, ask Mike what it's like being the second best athlete in the family after his brother-in-law, All-American Matt Campanelli.
Oh, here we go. I knew. Yeah, I shouldn't have been surprised.
You
by
should have
that
been
question. I'm just glad to be mentioned in the same conversation as Matt Campanelli.
Really?
Tremendous athlete. Yeah. Another prideful Cumberland alum. But
Go Clippers.
I think he did make it in the Hall of Fame after I got it.
So you were the first one to get
so
in.
I got that on him.
I was going to ask maybe the Bruins are going to be looking for a coach. Maybe you're interested, and because you were the first one in the Cumberland Hall of Fame, you could bring Matt along as your assistant as the second Cumberland Hall of Famer. So you're going to go for the Joe Sacco's job?
You know what? If it comes available, then you never know. You never know. I think I'm more positioned for a high school or youth, but yeah.
So yeah, are you coaching right now?
I am. Yeah. So I just finished up a club season. So I coached the U16 Rhode Island Sting program.
Okay.
And I'll be coaching a Providence Capitals team, like helping out a good friend, Cody Laughlin, who's a PC captain grad. I'm going to help out his team, and then I'm an assistant coach at Bishop Fien.
Right.
So I'll help out the girls program. My daughter's going to be a junior there next year. So,
Okay.
But a great experience there. So.
And she's having a good year because I get the Sun Chronicle, so
Yeah.
I follow. And we will be joined next week by Tyler Hitu of the Sun Chronicle to go over the Patriots draft picks for the first 2 rounds. But so Tyler writes some articles, the Sun Chronicle, so I've been reading about your daughter over at Fien, lighting the lamp. So she got those skills from you, I guess, or
She's. I'll be honest. She's a better player than I was at that time. She's more responsible. So, yeah.
But what the emergence of girls hockey though, incredible. I mean, talk about something that didn't even exist in the '80s when you graduated. And I have a daughter. I do have a daughter. I have a niece that was the first woman on the Smithfield hockey team for girls hockey.
Oh wow.
Back in the '90s. So just incredible how far they've come.
It's taken off.
It's funny you mentioned the Rhode Island Sting. So I did a little bit of the Rhode Island high school tournament. So I was, I'm a huge hockey high school guy. So I'll go to as many games as I can. I was in Smithfield at, I want to say it was, I forget who it was. It was one of the playoff games in Smithfield, but I'm standing next to a guy, and I have media credentials on. He's like, "Oh, who you with?" And I tell him about the show, and he's like, "Oh, well, next time you're on the show, make sure you mention that you were standing next to a 2-time Olympian." And I'm like looking at the guy, and he goes, "Oh, not me, my daughter." And it was Sarah.
Oh yeah. DaCosta.
DaCosta, yeah. So, I had no idea. So, did a little bit of background looking up. I'm like, oh, she was from Warwick. I live in Warwick. Not from Warwick, but yeah, she played at Tollgate and did the whole thing. So that's funny.
Yeah, gold and a silver. That's not bad. That's not a bad resume.
No.
So she, herself and Vicky Mosession or
Lamorello, right?
Yeah. She also is a part owner of that. They're both. Yeah. So they both had the gold medal in '98.
Great program, I guess.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but great things about it. I have a couple friends that have daughters who are growing up. Actually, a girl who works for me lives in Chepachet, I think, but she played at she played somewhere.
Oh, good.
It's not gonna come. She played somewhere.
I mean, the girls' game is taken off. It's really it didn't exist when we were growing up. Really,
did not exist.
And now it's in Massachusetts alone they have 80 high school teams.
Right.
And 12,000 registered USA Hockey players. It's only second to Minnesota, which is like maybe 500 more. But it's really taken off and getting better and better. And I really didn't anticipate getting back into hockey until my niece and nephew dragged me back in. And then I said to my daughter, I'm like, do you want to try it? She said no. I'm like, great. I go, just try it once. And then she fell in love with it. So I was back in. Yeah, so.
That could be your next one. Any designs on writing another book in the future? Was it hard to write the book? Was it how was the process?
It was in some ways it was hard, in some ways it was kind of easy. Like for me, I'm a process guy, right? So when I started working with this publishing company, they kind of broke it down really easy for me. With an outline. I knew how I wanted the book to lay out, and they always say know what your beginning is and know what your end is, and then you're filling in between. So I would meet with a writing coach who kind of just would guide me, the way. And obviously it's difficult to write a book, but that's why I couldn't tell anybody or look ahead because I probably would never have finished it.
Right.
Or if I just kind of went week by week by week, and all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, oh my God, it's published now. Like it's a cool feeling, but a little bit overwhelming in some ways too, because I really didn't think ahead to that when it's out there. You know what I mean?
I mean, and I'm always amazed when you hear about these authors, that write 6, 7, 8 books, or they put out a book a year. Like I think it's amazing to write one because of the process that you just described. So incredible. Again, we're joined by Mike Murray, author, Finding Genius in the Average Athlete Chasing the Goal. I'm trying to hold it up. You can order it on Amazon.com. So you're coaching any plans like? To go to a higher level of coaching, or you just kind of stay?
Not really, because right now I'm coaching my daughter.
Right.
So she's at Fien for the next 2 years, and I really didn't anticipate even coaching in high school. I was more actually Vicky Lamorello was the coach, assistant coach, her daughter graduated, and then mine came in, and she asked me if I would help them out. Initially, I wanted to let her be coached by somebody else. She's been coached by me enough.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. I know. I coach
Car rides home.
Yeah, she's got a, but she's great. She actually takes it a lot better than probably I would.
Yeah.
But she takes hard coaching from me. So, to answer your question, I really haven't thought that far ahead because I'm enjoying the moment of coaching her and impacting other kids' lives that I feel can benefit from what I went through. And we had a great year this year at Fian. We weren't supposed to, but the team really came together and played well. And it's fun. It's watching kids achieve their goals and dreams is a fun thing to do.
So and back to your brother-in-law for a second. Is Matt releasing a book? Matt Campanelli?
I'm not sure if he can read. So, he did go to a very good school. So, if he did read it, he won't tell me.
What's your take on the parents? From the coaching side of things.
There's a book. I can help you
That's a whole other book, right?
Well, to be honest, and part of it I thought about, I was obviously writing, like when you're writing a book, they said you got to have a picture in mind who you're writing to. So one was 17-year-old Mike Murray.
Right.
So but my daughter, I was writing to her about this is what I want to pass along to you, and then extended the audience with the book, right? But also thinking about parents, because a lot of the parents that have kids that I've coached never really played like hockey. There wasn't a lot of ex-hockey player parents. So they guide them, and they always, everybody wants their kids, best interests at heart.
They do have their best interests at heart.
Yeah,
but.
But 100%. But it's, and I always came from like, hey, I'm giving them the real advice.
Right.
Like I'm not sugarcoating it because I want to help them. And if I'm, I think that one of the worst things that happen is these, for-profit club sports and the elite status of like first year I got
Gold,
my coaching.
platinum.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's and I got back into it and I'm like I had no idea about any of this stuff and when you see kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old on the elite team and they have a locker room at the rink. The first time I ever was able to leave my equipment at a rink, I was at a Division I college. Right now they're 8 years old. So my whole thing is that how are they not going to have some mental health issues when they get to high school and realize I'm not that good, but they've been treated like professionals since they were 8.
Right, exactly.
So I try to, the parents I talk to, I try to guide them in a way like, hey, like they're going to have to drive the bus someday. It's not like as much as you want to drive it for them, eventually they're going to have to take over. And then you're going to find out how bad do they want it.
Right.
What are they willing to go through? And I try to lay that out to my parents and players in the book of it's not easy, but it's not supposed to be. That's why it's great.
It's funny. I have a buddy who coached juniors, and he started coaching in a club team, and he'd start at lowest age, and he'd move them right up through bantams and out, and start back over again. And actually, one of his better players was a female player because it was back before hockey was starting to grow for females.
Yeah.
So she was just an elite player. She played for his team, and I think she ended up going to Dartmouth. For college, and I think she dabbled in the U.S. On the U.S. team. But anyway, he had another kid who I remember coming to a game and I'm sitting there and this kid's on defense and his father's whacking the glass. Why are you playing defense? Screaming. All right, well, kid gets up, ends up going to Catholic Memorial. 4-year player, captain of the team, full boat to Harvard as a defenseman. I said to my buddy, I go, hey. Did the kid's father ever thank you for making that change? Cause he was my best skater at that time. Yeah. He was and I built from the back out.
Yeah.
Right. So you put your best skater on defense, and I go, did he ever thank you? He goes, no, it turned into it was his idea.
Yeah.
I turned my kid into a defenseman. He full boat, goes to Harvard. I don't think he ever played after that, but
I've seen the whole gamut of some great parents, some that surprising, trying to. When I coach, I work pretty hard at it, and I really because I want to get back to the kids, and you're gonna get all types, And it's funny, I did a similar thing with my niece. She was playing forward the first year, and I moved. She's a tremendous skater, and I moved her back to D. I don't think my sister loved that idea at the time because I was a forward and all that, but she's turned into a great player because you're right. Building from the back out is critical in hockey. Yeah. And being such a great skater was a great position for us. So yeah, I could completely see that.
Yeah. I I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you on again.
Yeah, so Mike, it'd be great to have you on again.
Yeah, I'd love to.
We are at the top of the hour. Once again, the book is Finding Genius in the Average Athlete, Chasing the Goal by Michael Murray. You can order it on Amazon.com. It's an easy read, as he said. He wrote it for people like Pat and myself and yourself. So we thank you in advance for that. And Mike, thank you very much for coming in. We really appreciate you coming in. And again, Chasing the Goal, Michael Murray on Amazon.com. And happy Easter.
You too.
And happy Easter to all the listeners.
Thanks for having me in. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
It was great. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Broadcasting live and local daily.